Cannons blast as Navy ships sail through the Narrows. It's the kickoff to Fleet Week, and hundreds turn out to show their appreciation to the military. I'm Tim Harfman, and that story is coming up.
Impeachment tensions erupting at the White House as President Trump calls off a meeting with top Democrats from Congress. There's new information about women in marriage and which ones are most happy. Plus the story of Emma Estrada, a champion in both the classroom and the ice. Tonight, how this Catholic high school student won a national title. All that and more right now on the news. Good evening, I'm Emily Druby. New York is honoring America's war heroes as Fleet Week begins today. Watching the parade of ships entering the harbor was Students for Soldiers, Brooklyn Catholic high schoolers dedicated to the troops. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports.
Cannons blast as U.S. Navy ships navigate the city's coastline in honor of America's heroes. It's the kickoff to the week-long Fleet Week celebration. Students from Brooklyn's Fontbonne Hall Academy lined the Brooklyn shore to show their appreciation. Thomasina Cardone, a junior at the Catholic high school, is inspired by U.S. troops year-round.
They shouldn't have to wait for the holidays to be shown that we were thinking of them.
To honor them, Thomasina started Fontbonne's new Students for Soldiers Club, which raises money and sends care packages to the military. Her two older brothers are in the Army, stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. Thomasina understands what it's like for service members far from home.
I really feel for them, and I feel that it's hard to be away from your family, especially being deployed or anywhere overseas.
A gesture that U.S. Army veteran Christopher Lewis appreciates.
In the military, we have a code, and one of those codes, it's selfless service. And that's what these students are actually doing. They are selfless serving. They're not thinking about themselves.
Isabella Chirico, also a member of Students for Soldiers, lives near Brooklyn's Fort Hamilton Army Base, a great vantage point for the parade of ships.
I was speechless. It gave me goosebumps. I was very inspired by the amount of patriotism.
The Catholic high schoolers welcome the chance to spend time with the sailors from the Navy.
If my time in service means that I can pass on my knowledge and that the future gets to learn academically and learn to support our maritime services, it's truly a blessing.
Alfredo Rosario enlisted in the Navy 2 years ago. The Bronx native serves on the USS Virginia submarine.
For a lot of people, they don't really know what happens when we're out to sea, and for them to see the technology allows them to want to be interested.
Isabella dreams of attending a military academy and joining the ROTC. Thomasina wants to be a military doctor.
Because I feel like if I need to help anyone, it would be our military members.
Service these students look forward to in the future as they honor the selfless sacrifice of today's military. In Fort Hamilton, Brooklyn, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
Stay with us. In just a few moments, we'll tell you about some Catholic war heroes. Marvin Jeffcoat, the department commander of the Catholic War Veterans Association, joins us with stories of heroism that you won't want to miss. That's still ahead in this newscast. The big story in Washington that's still developing tonight, the bitter and public feud between President Trump and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The clash led Trump to call off a White House meeting set for today. Kristen Holmes reports the latest.
An attempt at bipartisanship unraveling in minutes. President Trump abruptly walking out of what was supposed to be an infrastructure meeting with top Democrats at the White House. Without so much as shaking anyone's hand, the president told Democrats he refused to work with them until they ended their investigations in Congress. Immediately then leaving for an impromptu press conference in the Rose Garden.
I walked into the room and I told Senator Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, I want to do infrastructure. I want to do it more than you want to do it. I'd be really good at that. That's what I do. But you know what? You can't do it under these circumstances. So get these phony investigations over with.
The president's rage stemming from this accusation made by Speaker Pelosi this morning.
We believe that the President of the United States is engaged in a cover-up,
which sources say derailed the planned meeting. President Trump responding.
And instead of walking in happily into a meeting, I walk in to look at people that had just said that I was doing a cover-up. I don't do cover-ups.
President Trump's outburst comes as the conversation around impeachment proceedings has gotten louder on Capitol Hill. Democrats expressing frustration at the administration's attempts to stonewall their probes. In Washington, Kristen Holmes, Currents News.
A new atrocity allegedly by Syria's Bashar al-Assad is being investigated tonight by the United States. The State Department fears Assad has unleashed another chemical attack against his own people. He's done so before, and the images of the aftermath have been gruesome. This video was recorded after Assad targeted children. In 2017, U.S. warships fired missiles in retaliation for a chemical attack that killed at least 80 civilians. This time, Assad is accused of launching chlorine weapons on Sunday against opponents of his regime who are living in Idlib province. The U.S. is threatening to respond quickly if Assad is found to be responsible. The American Taliban John Walker Lind is set to be a free man this week. He was sentenced to federal prison for providing support to the Taliban during the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan back in 2001. He has served 17 years of his 20-year sentence. According to the New York Times, Lind will get out of jail on Thursday. Several U.S. officials are questioning why he is being released early. Pope Francis today mourned the brutal murder of a missionary sister who was beheaded in the Central African Republic. Inez Nieves Sancho's mutilated body was found on Monday.
Educatrici delle ragazze povere da decenni, uccisa barbaramente in Centrafrica.
The Holy Father prayed for the soul of the 77-year-old nun at his weekly general audience this morning. She had been helping the people of the Central African Republic for 23 years.
Proprio nel locale dove insegnava a cucire alle ragazze. Una donna in più che dà la vita per Gesù nel servizio dei poveri. Preghiamo insieme.
The Holy Father devoted much of his public preaching today to the Our Father, calling the prayer central to the Catholic faith.
Questa è la radice della preghiera cristiana. Dire Padre a Dio, ma ci vuole coraggio, Per pregare dobbiamo farci piccoli, perché lo Spirito Santo venga in noi e sia Lui a guidarci nella preghiera.
The Holy Father also prayed for Catholics in China ahead of Friday's Feast of Our Lady Help of Christians, who is especially revered in the Asian nation.
Ave Maria.
The pontiff prayed the Blessed Mother would help China be a country of charity and fraternity.
China and the Vatican had entered a new diplomatic phase after reaching a deal last year on the appointment of bishops. Both sides hope the historic move will bridge the divide between Beijing and the Holy See. The case of a 42-year-old Frenchman on life support is receiving strong support from the Vatican. Vincent Lambert has been in a vegetative state for the past 10 years. On Monday, he was taken off life support. The Vatican condemned that action, and hours later, a French court ordered life support restored. On the same day, the Pope tweeted, "We pray for those who live with severe illness. Let us always safeguard life, God's gift, from its beginning until its natural end. Let us not give in to a throwaway culture." Americans in the Midwest are still on guard for new tornadoes after violent storms left highways, roadways, and many homes underwater and at least one person dead. Connor Powell reports from El Reno, Oklahoma.
I spent 36 years here. It's probably as bad a flood as I've ever seen.
In a part of the country that has been dealing with storm after storm this year, this latest rash of weather is hammering an already exhausted region. Several states saw more than 3 inches of rain Tuesday and remain under flood warnings Wednesday, including parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, areas that are already underwater. Harrowing videos show people getting caught up in swift-moving waters Tuesday, with rescuers risking their lives to pull them to safety. And officials are stressing they are not out of the woods yet.
We got a lot of rain to the northwest of us last night, the previous day as well, and that's all that's coming our way. We just want to remind people that do not drive through moving water. It's a lot faster than you think.
And severe thunderstorms, large hail, and tornadoes are still a possibility Wednesday from Texas into Louisiana, all the way up to parts of Illinois. More than 100 tornadoes have been reported since Friday, 32 on Tuesday alone.
Anytime you have storm damage like this with 100-year-old trees blown over like toothpicks, it's staggering to the, to the first look that you see.
In El Reno, Oklahoma, I'm Connor Powell.
North Korea is lashing out against Joe Biden, calling him an imbecile. The harsh comments come after the Democratic presidential candidate took on Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin while on the campaign trail.
Are we a nation that believes ripping children from the arms of their parents at the border? No, we don't, but Trump does. Are we a nation that embraces dictators and tyrants like Putin and Kim Jong-un? We don't, but Trump does.
President Trump has been working to strike a peace deal with the Kim regime in exchange for Pyongyang getting rid of its nuclear weapons. But diplomatic efforts have stalled since their February summit. There's a police investigation underway into a high-ranking Catholic cardinal. Cardinal Oswald Gracias of Bombay, India, is accused, along with 2 other bishops, of failing to report an accusation of clerical sexual abuse against a priest to authorities in 2015. The cardinal has been a top advisor to Pope Francis, serving on the Select Council of Cardinals. The Archdiocese of Bombay previously released a statement that the cardinal removed the accused priest from ministry immediately after learning of the allegations. Pope Francis has accepted the resignation of Brazilian Bishop Wilson Dias de Oliveira, who is currently under investigation by local authorities. The probe is reportedly into allegations the 66-year-old bishop mismanaged money and failed to report cases of clerical sex abuse. The Holy See did not provide any additional details about the resignation. There is good news tonight about the Vatican Bank. Operations have improved greatly after previous reports of suspicious activity. Renee Brulhart is in charge of overseeing the bank.
I think it's very positive what has been achieved so far, but I guess there is never ever kind of a mission accomplished. I think the importance here is that we have the instruments and measures in place which allows us to tackle this kind of challenges as such.
Brulhart adds that new regulations are responsible for the Vatican Bank getting better. There's a lot more news headed your way. Father Vincent Capodanno and President John F. Kennedy are among the Catholic war heroes you're going to learn a lot more about. I'll introduce you to Emma Estrada, who is an ice skating champion and a great role model in her Catholic classroom. How abortion played a role in the defacing of a Catholic church in Pennsylvania. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Emma Estrada is a national champion on the ice and a great role model in her class at St. Francis Prep High School in Queens. I spent some time with her and she is remarkable. Since she was a little kid, Emma Estrada has walked into an ice skating rink, laced up her skates, and headed onto the ice. Now the years of hard work and dedication have paid off. At only 17 years old, Emma is already a national champion. Emma and the 23 other members of the Skyliner skating team captured the 2019 U.S. Synchronized Skating National Championship title in February.
It's unreal, and it honestly goes by so fast, and it's so much fun performing and doing what you love.
Her love of the sport helped Emma glide to victory. She practices an average of 25 hours a week during the skating season.
Skating is pretty much my whole world and social life. You always look forward to going to practice. And while doing something that you love, you're being rewarded and you're meeting all of these amazing people. I mean, it's a win-win.
But the senior at St. Francis Prep Catholic High School in Queens doesn't let her grades slide. Emma says school helped her achieve success.
They were very supportive with missing school and helping me catch up on work, and all my teachers were completely for it.
Cindy Zubli, the president of the Great Neck Figure Skating Club, who's known Emma since she was about 8, says even with her busy schedule, she's a 10 when it comes to being a role model.
She has a lot of respect for the sport, and she helps other skaters on the ice. We have little skaters out there now that are 4 and 5 years old, And they're out there and they're watching Emma and they're like, oh, I want to be like that.
Jumping, winning, but most importantly, inspiring. Again, Emma has been ice skating her entire life, starting when she was only 3 years old. Her mother was also an ice skater. In the fall, she will be heading off to the University of Tampa for college, but says moving to the Sunshine State will not stop her from skating. Also in the Diocese of Brooklyn, Father Mark Bristol, the parochial vicar at St. Anastasia's Church in Douglaston, had his official oath of office ceremony Monday. Ahead of Memorial Day, he will be sworn in as the newest United States Navy chaplain this weekend. If you would like to attend his swearing-in ceremony, it will be held at St. Anastasia Church, located at 45-14 245th Street in Douglaston, this Sunday, May 26th at 2 p.m. Earlier on Currents News, we witnessed the ships of the U.S. Navy arriving in New York for Fleet Week. It's a tribute to America's war heroes on Memorial Day. Joining us now is the Department Commander of the Catholic War Veterans Organization, Marvin Jeffcoat, to tell us about Catholics who have served the country in extraordinary ways. Let's start with America's only Catholic president, John F. Kennedy. Before entering politics, he distinguished himself during World War II on board the Navy boat P-2-109. Tell us about his heroism.
Correct. So John F. Kennedy was the commander of PT-109, and that vessel was cut in half by a Japanese destroyer, which he lost some of his crew, and the survivors were stranded on an island for several weeks. So I think it was his strong leadership in Catholic faith that kept them alive. I mean, they were low on rations, they had to avoid the Japanese, and they had to endure the weather, and they didn't know when they were going to be rescued. And he was able to see them through that hardship.
You said his Catholic faith helped keep him alive. I mean, how did that help?
Well, when you're in a situation such as combat or imminent peril, I think it's your faith and conviction in God, knowing that you're going to be rescued and see your own sort of resurrection. Whichever way it works out, you know that the healing hand of God is going to be with you, and that helps you to calm others so they look toward your leadership and you're able to achieve your goal.
Now, most New Yorkers have heard of the Kosciuszko Bridge. It's named in honor of Andrzej Kosciuszko, a Catholic who fought for the colonies during the American Revolution. He was a colonel in the Continental Army. What did he accomplish?
Correct. So Colonel Kosciuszko was commissioned as a colonel and ultimately a brigadier general, and he was an engineer by training. So he established fortifications such as West Point. And one unique thing about him is he was close friends with Jefferson, and he shared the Jeffersonian philosophy of freedom. So in his will, he left an inheritance so that slaves could be freed and educated. So that's one of the distinctions about him. But he's our first, really, if you think about it, he's the first Catholic war veteran in the United States, of distinction anyways.
Well, that's incredible. Another Catholic hero, New York-born Father Vincent Capodanno. He sacrificed his life ministering to Marines in Vietnam. Can you tell us more about his service to our country?
Correct. Father Capodanno was ordained a priest in 1958, and he requested Cardinal Spellman to send him to Vietnam so that he could minister to the Marine Corps. So he was commissioned a chaplain in the Navy, and he served he didn't just serve his Marines, he served among them. He lived with them, he slept with them, he ate with them. He was responsible for establishing libraries in the villages. And unfortunately, one night he was in a firefight and he saw a medic who had been gravely injured. And Father Capodanno ran to that medic and gave him first aid as well as spiritual aid. And unfortunately, the enemy, the Viet Cong, did not recognize that he was a priest, and they killed him. Ultimately, he was posthumously awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his service.
It sounds like faith was so important to him, he was willing to sacrifice his life for it. Can you tell me more about that?
It was. He like I said, he lived among his Marines. He was a totally faithful person, and it was important for him to be right there with them and experience everything they experienced, to include the dangers and perils of combat.
Now, how can Catholics in the Brooklyn Diocese best honor these and other wartime heroes?
The biggest way they can honor us is to join our organization if they're eligible, but get the word out that we're here and our arms are open, and we look forward to bringing in membership of honorably discharged U.S. veterans to be Catholic War veterans, not necessarily combat veterans. A lot of us are, but you don't have to be. And also, we're going to hold several prayer breakfasts throughout the city from local parishes and posts, and then we'll go and render honors at our Memorial Day ceremonies.
Marvin, thank you so much
You're
for your
welcome.
time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for interviewing me.
If you qualify and are interested in joining the Catholic War Veterans Organization, visit cwv.org. Police are investigating tonight after the front doors of a Catholic church in Pennsylvania were defaced with an abortion slogan. Authorities in Swarthmore want to find whoever is responsible for spray painting the message, quote, "You do not have the right to decide what people can do, #pro-choice. The vandalism at Notre Dame de Lourdes Church was discovered on Sunday. The Archdiocese has confirmed that a security video was handed over to police and the graffiti has been removed. Legislators in Honduras have burned a copy of the country's constitution. Members of the ruling party took on the opposition in a fistfight on Tuesday, with members of the opposition party burning the Constitution, claiming the ruling party violates it every day. This is the second altercation between legislators in the past month over how elections are handled in Honduras. Still to come on Currents News, a religious protection bill has passed in Texas. We'll tell you which popular Christian fast food chain it's named after. Plus, how religion is closely linked to a happy marriage. And the tablet has a brand new page called Our Diocesan Family, where you can share your pictures of recent baptisms, Holy Communions, confirmations, marriage, all of the joyous sacraments. For more details and to submit your photos, go to thetablet.org/ourdiocesanfamily. Your picture may be published in an upcoming issue of the newspaper. We'll be right back. A controversial religious protection bill has passed in Texas. The bill, named Save Chick-fil-A, prevents the government from taking negative action against individuals or businesses based on membership, support, or donations to religious groups. This comes after the Christian fast food chain was criticized for donating to charities that oppose gay marriage. Supporters say the bill will make sure religious people aren't labeled bigoted for the causes they support. Governor Greg Abbott says he intends to sign the bill. There's a strong link between religion and happily married women, according to new research that's just been released. The findings from families in 11 different countries show men and women who share an active religious faith have happier relationships. The study was conducted by the Institute for Family Studies. They're also reporting that religious couples share responsibility for important household decisions, but at the same time, they are not any less likely to experience domestic violence, and that couples who are active in the faith enjoy higher levels of sexual satisfaction compared to secular couples. That is Currents News. I'm Emily Druby. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.